On this episode of I'm Not a Lawyer, but the Debrief.
Man, when I got locked up and I called my dad and my mama, and it was like, they like, what is happening? I'm like, Mom.
You cried on the phone like that?
Yeah, I was terrible. Terrible. I'm,
They can all see you?
yeah, I was right there.
What time was it when you called them? What time was it?
It was like 10 p.m.
Oh,
11,
it was okay.
11 p.m.
Who answered the phone?
My mama did.
Now, if you're not ready, then go ahead and just tell me you're not ready.
I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives.
In other words, the car didn't hit him, and he wasn't hit by the car.
I'm not a lawyer, but
are y'all keeping up?
I'm not a lawyer, but
The Debrief.
Hello, welcome to I'm Not a Lawyer, but
The Debrief.
I am one of your hosts, Melanie Gooseby, aka I'm Not a Lawyer, but, and I am joined by my co-host,
Gooseby. How y'all doing?
aka my husband. And on this podcast, we are not lawyers at all, but we talk a lot about things that are happening. It's the cross-section of like pop culture and the culture and legal stuff that we are not going to like analyze necessarily because we don't have the law background to do so, but we do recap it and give thoughts and opinions, catch you up on what's happening, a little bit of explanation where we can, and a little bit of entertainment. So today on the docket,
we have Meg Thee Stallion.
a lawsuit was just filed against her, so we'll talk a little bit about that.
Meg Thee Stallion, and then I forgot who you said.
And a little bit of YSL. We'll see how it goes.
YSL again?
I know. Well, okay. We'll see how it goes.
I thought we was over YSL. Well, for the time being.
We were supposed to be, but Karen Reed, that trial was supposed to start.
Oh.
And if you are keeping up or planning to keep up with the Karen Reed trial with us, you probably know that it did not start. I was hoping it would start at least by Monday, but they are still in jury selection. And they intend to get like 20, I think they said. So 20 jurors, and then like weed through those. So right now they are saying that they will begin the opening statements on Monday. So I'm hoping by the next time we shoot an episode of this podcast, we will be able to talk about the opening statements as well as go through whoever the first witness is, hoping they'll get that far. But right now it hasn't started yet.
Yeah, they're taking their time.
They're
are making sure they get the right jury members.
Absolutely.
The right
hilarious
jury members.
Yes. So we will.
Oh, and then I have something at the end about OJ.
Oh
the
Lord.
Juice Man. Hey.
OJ the Juice Man or OJ Simpson?
Hey.
Okay.
Both
well,
of them.
I'm actually gonna.
A funny story.
Okay.
A funny tweet we saw.
So anyway, that's what we are going to talk about. But last week, I talked a little bit about the difference between assault and battery.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people commented and said that they enjoyed that.
I did.
Good. But a lot of people also was like, that, everybody got opinions. And to be fair, laws are different. And the meaning of them, right, can be different in different states. And so many times, because I am, doing a lot of review and learning about in California, so some of those may be specific to California.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of states, I would argue, probably define assault and battery the way that I did. Somebody pointed out in New York, instead of calling that assault, they call it mincing, I think is the term that they use. So I just want to put it out there that your state may be different. But just know that there is going to be a difference between like what battery is and then the act of threatening someone in a way that they are aware.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a little disclaimer because I'm not a lawyer and I don't want people in my comments. So
That's
just know
that laws are different in each state, and we're all the United States of America.
Like, oh my gosh, don't send me on my tangent because I was just reading.
Stupid.
I was just reading about common law versus in 1962, the model penal code came into place and 35 states adopted that. I won't go on my tangent, but yes, states, can define things differently.
Man.
But that actually is going. So because people enjoyed that, I won't do it every week. But if I come across something that I think could be interesting, then I may bring it to this podcast and inform you. So,
like a word of the week type situation.
Sure.
Okay.
See, somebody in Patreon is saying your definition is how I understand it here in Maryland, because there are states who define it the way that I did. But just adding a little asterisk in there, so in case your state is one that doesn't. But since that is the case, since you guys seem to like it, I'm going to bring something else to you today, which is yes, it's not like kind of. A lot of people always have a lot of things to say when people sue people civilly, right? So like when Cassie sued Diddy, a lot of people was like, she just want money. She ain't really about justice because she just want money. And anytime there's a lawsuit, particularly about famous people, it hits the media, a lot of people will have that to say. So I just want to talk a little bit about the difference between a criminal or a civil lawsuit and criminal charges. Okay. Follow me, because and the way that I'm going to explain it, because I've been reading this book and they just gave me a new way to talk about it. And that's what I think is interesting and what I intend to share. So
the baby boy.
Anyway, okay. So we were just talking about state laws.
Yep.
Laws are created to govern a society, right? They keep people kind of in check. This is, if you're going to be in this state, this is how you can and cannot operate. You can't kill people. You can't steal from people. You can't whatever. So they're from the state. So if you break a law, that offense is actually against the state because it's their law that you've broken. You following me?
Okay.
So, even if there's a victim attached to a law that you've broken, or if there's not a victim, it's still against the state. So in the example of if you are caught with possession of cocaine, there's no real victim in that instance, right? If I rob you, you're the victim in that instance. Regardless if there's a victim or not, the offense, the law that you've broken is still the state's law. So it's still against the state. You following?
Yep.
That is why you will see the state of Georgia versus Jeffrey Williams. That's why if you kill someone, it's not like that person versus you. It's the state of the state of California versus Greg, because the law that you broke is against them. Okay. Unalive. It's fine.
Okay.
So that said, when people are like, they just didn't want to, or she is getting money instead of pressing charges. Pressing charges is actually up to prosecutors and not up to you. You can report a crime, but you can't prosecute that crime, right? You following? Are you following?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure. And so what happens is if you are prosecuted and found guilty, the remedy is that you go to jail, right? So if you violate a law by that state, what they do in order to punish you is send you to jail. And yet the victim in a crime that maybe you've committed, there is no remedy in a criminal process. You're off the street, but that doesn't help them necessarily because they still may be out something. If you shoot somebody and they can't work for the rest of their life, they're just out money. That is why civil lawsuits exist.
Okay.
Because the remedy for state is you go to jail. The remedy for people, victims, is that they can sue you and get money. So it's not like they're not petty. They're not, that's the remedy that they have. Does that make sense?
That's the only solution.
That's the only solution.
Yeah.
So when people sue, so it made me, you just mentioned O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was actually found not guilty criminally.
Yep.
Remember?
Yep.
And yet, what's the woman's name?
Nicole.
Nicole's family sued him civilly.
Yep.
And won. That's the difference. Because even if the state doesn't get, even if they don't find you guilty and they therefore don't get a remedy, you still have the option as a victim to get compensation from those people, from whoever victimized you.
And that's a civil suit.
And that's a civil suit.
Because they're trying to get OJ to pay them now since he passed away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, because they've been won that suit.
Yeah.
He just was hiding his money and didn't pay them. But now that he's dead, obviously they're like trying to come harder. But literally somebody is saying in the Patreon, the only course of action that we have in the Goldman family, yes, the Goldman family, who was the other person who was killed in OJ, is also sued. But the only course that you have as a person, not the state, is to civilly sue. So I just want to put that out there because people were like trying to shame Cassie. She just wants money and said you should want him in jail. You can want somebody in jail. You can also civilly sue them for what they did to you. And that is the only course of action that you have. So anyway, there's your learning for the day. So if you see people in the comments being annoying about it, just know that people can civilly sue.
And yeah, I'm trying to get money.
Absolutely.
What are you talking about?
If you took something from me, if you harmed me, if you are affecting my life in some way, you should go to jail, and I should also be compensated financially for what you put me through.
Yes. If you gave me an option, to be honest, 20 million, or he goes to jail for 5-10 years, man, give me that 20 million.
Well, they should do both.
I'm just saying, I would prefer to be paid versus you go to jail. Well, not versus, but if there was an option, 20 mil or go to jail, I want the money. Let him, he can have his.
Yeah, and that goes back to the fact that laws are for states. So you would never even have the choice because that offense technically wasn't against you. It was against the state. It's against the state.
Against the state, yeah.
So anyway, there's that. I hope that's helpful. I hope it makes sense.
Also, this is how a lot of people look at it. Oh, he presses charges. Oh, he the reason. But no, the state is pressing charges.
Absolutely.
I was just trying to sue you to get this money, but since you broke their law, they're now seeking.
Yes. I mean, and like I said, you can report a crime, obviously.
Yeah.
And that will prompt them to potentially prosecute you. But if you've ever heard of we were just reading about a case, I forgot what state it was in, Kansas City. It was out of Kansas City, Kansas, but a black man was put in jail for like 23 years. He was an innocent man, and yet he was put in jail. The people who initially were witnesses and said that he committed that crime later were like, he didn't though. We lied. That's not the right guy. But it's not even up to them to be like, hey, drop these charges. The prosecutor has the ability to dismiss or not dismiss or whatever. And that's because it was against the state. You really don't have much power. I think about victim impact statements. I don't even mean to go on this long of a tangent, but victim impact statements where you, after, someone is found guilty, you can come in and like try to, have a statement about how much time that person should be sentenced and all of that. That's all good and dandy, but it comes down to the judge.
Yeah.
Like they get to, you know what I'm saying? Like implement whatever that sentence will be. Anyway, I hope that was helpful.
One more thing. A perfect example of that is when somebody commits a crime against somebody and the person is like, man, I ain't trying to press charges. You good.
Yes.
But the police, you've been arrested for, and they're like, well,
yes,
we're still, the state is now pressing charges.
Yes.
So even if you forgive that person for
100%
burglary or whatever, the state is still going after you.
We're going to talk about the Meg Thee Stallion lawsuit that was just filed against her, but a lot of people had a lot of things to say about the Tory Lanez thing and Meg Thee Stallion. And I think she was even like, y'all, this is not even me. And it wasn't. It was the state of California against Tory Lanez because he violated one of the state's laws. And so they are the one that are prosecuting him. Anyway, I think we beat that horse.
That's good though.
To the death. So,
it's good.
Let's move on to Meg Thee Stallion. Let me put it up. Which I think is also interesting. Because so this hit the news yesterday, and it is a previous photographer of Meg's, and that photographer is suing her company. It's like actually, let me put it up. Meg Thee Stallion Entertainment, as well as Rock Nation and Hot Girl Touring. And one of the things that was like all over the news and what people were focusing on, which was included in the lawsuit, to be fair, is that let me go to it. So under the factual allegations, he says that on or around June 2022, they were in Spain on tour. And after a night out, Meg and 3 other women, as well as the photographer, were in an SUV when suddenly Meg Thee Stallion and one of the other women began engaging in some activities right next to him. Says that he could not get out of the car because it was moving, and he was in a foreign country. Says he was embarrassed, mortified, and offended throughout the whole trial. Afterward, it says that the following day, Meg asked the photographer, "Were you in the car last night?" He said yes. And then she said, "Don't ever discuss what you saw." And then it also says that she berated him and started fat shaming him, calling him things as fat, bitch, spit your food out, and that you don't need to be eating. So there is that. But actually what he's suing for, and let's just go back to the causes of action, what he's suing for is not like sexual harassment the way that you would assume when that is like the highlight of the lawsuit. But he's suing for a hostile work environment harassment, failure to prevent and remedy violation of labor code, and then a bunch of stuff about labor. And I just want to focus low-key on the labor part because I think that's actually the bigger part of the lawsuit. And we have some family members who own a company who actually just went through some of the stuff that he's talking about when it comes to labor. And so the biggest point that he makes to me, and I'm not a lawyer, is that he says that he was misclassified as a independent contractor instead of an employee. And the reason that matters is because when you're an employee, you get stuff like breaks, meal breaks, rest breaks. You can get benefits. You can get all of that stuff. And so he's suing for overtime. You can get overtime, time and a half, that kind of stuff when you are an employee. But when you are a contractor, that kind of stuff doesn't apply, right?
Yep.
So he is suing for overtime pay. He's saying he missed out on overtime pay. He missed out on breaks. He missed out on all this stuff because he was misclassified. He was called an independent contractor when he should have been an employee the whole time. Here's the thing that I just want to explain because I made a video and a lot of people had a lot of questions and comments, and I'm definitely not an employment lawyer. But you know, when you start a job and HR gives you paperwork,
yep,
and you be signing that paperwork, and you be like, I'm gonna assume you know how I'm supposed to be classified. Here's my name, my social. Here you go, and then you are just set up, right? So he was brought on, classified as a contractor, did his paperwork, got paid, whatever. The problem is in California, I think it's there is a federal version of this, but specifically the governor in California signed a bill in 2019, which made it harder to classify people as independent contractors versus employees. So when you are hired, you are by default an employee unless they can prove that you should be an independent contractor versus the other way around.
Okay.
And the example that I gave in the video was a plumber. If you hire a plumber to come to the house and fix something, that really is a contractor.
Yep.
You don't tell them when to come to your house. They tell you their availability, and then you be like, okay, yeah, that time works for me.
Make that work.
When they get there, you don't tell them how to fix or do whatever they're doing. They get to do what they're doing, and then they give it to you, and then you can either approve or reject what they give to you, but you don't have oversight of the actual process of it happening. You really just have the result. And then the other point was, if a plumber will leave our house and go to 5 other people's houses, we wouldn't be their sole source of income. Those buckets are essentially what what has to be in place in order to be classified as an independent contractor. So he is saying in this lawsuit that Meg told him, demanded, directed him to not take work from anybody else. You are my photographer, which means that she became his sole source of income, which means he's saying, I'm an employee. He's also saying that she oversaw and directed everything he did. Hey, make this video for me. Hey, edit this. Hey, oversight. You need to, like, if there's a back and forth exchange versus here's the result, you just take it or leave it. But like there is some collaboration and work that happens throughout the process. So
is he saying that they told him he was a contractor, or yeah, so they told him he was a contractor, but now he's figured out that actually I'm a W-2 employee. So they weren't deceiving him.
I don't think it comes down to deception. And the thing that what it does come down to is the responsibility to classify people actually falls on the company.
The owners, yeah.
The company, he probably gonna have to pay taxes if they all of a sudden are like, you are right, you are W-2, we owe you more money, but the government says you got to pay them. That may happen, but if there is a fine attached to it, it would fall on the company for misclassifying the employee.
Okay.
And so that is essentially what he is saying, that like you misclassified me. Because think about it, when you're getting your stuff from HR at a new, you're not like, hey, are you sure I'm supposed to be are you sure? Like, you typically don't even have the information or the knowledge to be able to like have a back and forth with an HR rep about HR stuff. Anything. Benefits are like stressful.
Yeah.
So you just be like, hey, tell me what to do. Where do I sign? And try to go on your way. And so I would assume that is what happened. He got set up and now he probably talked to a lawyer and they was like, actually, this actually had a lot to do, or not a lot to do, but a lot of this conversation was happening around like Uber employees, technically, right? Uber, because they were considered, they still may be, I didn't follow up on it, but I remember this being a big conversation when it comes to Uber, because they were considered independent contractors. And yet, if Uber drivers are only getting their money from Uber, okay, if Uber driver, I mean, I don't know, again, the details, but anyway, the point is it became a big conversation when it comes to, it also happens as an independent contractor, you're not subjected to minimum wage, but when you are an employee, you are. Like minimum wage matters. So that again became a big conversation when it comes to Uber. So there's just a lot of benefits that happen when you're an employee versus not. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. I don't know if there's any question.
And then it's cheaper on the company for you to be a contractor because they don't have to worry about benefits or anything of that nature.
Yeah, exactly.
That's yes. So when I've worked a 9 to 5, all of my jobs, shoot, I didn't figure out nothing until I got that first pay stub and you see everything. On the side.
Yeah.
This, that, and another.
Totally.
Are they fighting him against this?
He just filed the lawsuit, and I can get it off the screen.
I guess they are if he's filing a lawsuit, because that to me that'll be something you go to HR or go to whoever you need to go to.
Well, he don't work there now, and he also has more claims than just obviously what I'm talking about. So it became a lawsuit. I mean, I'd imagine he probably went to them first. Hey, I'm about to file this lawsuit. Just FYI, unless y'all want to like settle this down. So maybe that happened, but they said that her team said that we'll go to court, but. I just wanted to put out there because a lot of people were talking about the sexual part of it, and it felt like a bloggy headline instead of like the meat of the lawsuit.
Yeah. Because I mean that's a big part of it.
Exactly. Well, and that's what's gonna get me to make a video. Yeah, well, actually, I made the video and then really talked about the plumber example and contracting. But it just makes it more gossipy and more headliney, and for people the blogs to pick it up.
Hearing about Meg in the car getting it on.
Yeah.
Let's get it on.
Hello.
That would draw my attention way more than this guy talking about he's a W-2 employee.
Yes, but it's important to know. And we just had this I had this conversation with Melissa, is who I was talking about the difference between contractors and W-2 employees.
So is Meg Thee Stallion into women?
I don't know. That is none of my business.
We ain't just let that fly over our heads, did it?
I don't know that. I don't know.
It's fine if she is. I just thought she was into guys.
But it makes it more salacious. Absolutely. Okay. that was the Meg Thee Stallion lawsuit. And then, so we'll talk briefly about YSL, the trial that never ends. And
where you at, boy?
What happened this morning, only because we talked a little bit about DK last week.
Yeah.
When I was like, give him grace, blah, 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 and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still talking about this Citgo incident that happened. And this morning, they played a jail call, which it's very clear that if you're in jail, they're listening, right, to your calls. Everybody should know that. But they play this jail call. Part of it makes me uncomfortable because it feels like you're like listening in on, you're listening in on somebody's conversation with a girl. And like, that's
of course
inappropriate.
Taking all their rights.
But I'm just going to play some of it because I think that the call is interesting. As far as he was saying, I would say anything because I was trying to get back to my girl and my son that was on the way.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And so this is the jail call that they played this morning.
Is
DK on the phone talking to his girl that they played in court today in front of the jurors. So here we go. Let me get my headphones.
What, a jail?
Yeah, to see what's going on. Like, bro, like, I'm gonna have my baby, bro. Like,
don't do it, please. I'm sorry, but don't make me listen here, bro.
You said what?
I'm saying don't make me break down crying here, bro.
I'm not trying to, but like, this is why I asked you last night, like, bro, like,
stay with you. I should just stay with you. My God. I haven't touched you or nothing, and I just love you. Like, we haven't had sex or nothing. And they told us shit happened 3-4 months ago, bro.
Exactly, and then you just went to court. That's what I don't understand. Why didn't they lock you up then?
Bro, they want me to tell, bro, like I was with the folk, but, bro, I'm not, like, bro, they already got me on camera and shit, bro, like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat shit. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm gonna tell you everything. So you, like, bro. Look.
Huh?
Bro, I never thought this shit would happen.
We're gonna stop at 227 and then to 234.
Bro, I gotta find some kind of way, like, I don't know, like, but we gotta ask to start a fundraiser or like something, bro. I gotta get me some money. I gotta get out of here, bro.
That was if I was like, this gonna be my money. I don't care, bro. Whatever you.
Okay. Go ahead.
They should use this for educational purposes.
Say more.
So guys can hear and understand how serious and how eye-opening these situations could be. I'm not an emotional person, but hearing him, man, when I got locked up and I called my dad and my mama, and it was like, they like, what is happening? I'm like, Mom.
You cried on the phone like that?
Yeah, I was terrible. Terrible. Them niggas looking at me. I'm
They can all see you?
Yeah, I was right there.
What time was it when you called them?
Huh?
What time was it?
It was like 10 p.m.
Oh,
11,
it was okay.
11 p.m.
Who answered the phone?
My mama did.
And then she grabbed your daddy on the phone. And then when they
Greg
said,
messing with the ganja.
Greg's mom is Jamaican, if you don't know.
Shit, man, just hearing their voice, they ain't even had to say nothing. It was just like, dang.
What did you ask them? You said, I'm in jail. Can you come get me?
My mom was like, for what? I'm like, man, I was messing with this. And she was like, my dad name, they call him Mickey. Mickey! He came, he was like, what's happening? And he was like, well, you gonna stay in there. All right. It was like 2-3 days later they came and got me.
They
like,
left
you
you
gonna
in
be
there?
in there. I know you okay in there. You gonna be all right in there. You can't do nothing else wrong in there.
Did you call any of your friends to ask them to come get you?
None of my friends could. Who could have? Where were they at that point in time? Yeah, couldn't nobody come get me.
You just figured I gotta stay in here.
Hearing him talk to her though, man, you can't do nothing, and it's all your fault.
Well, and that's what he continues to say. I didn't play the whole clip, but he continues to say, this is all on me. Like, and she's like, I don't understand why you just didn't like come to my house. Like, why would you get yourself caught up in this? And he like, it's all on me.
Man,
like I did this.
You feel terrible. You can't do nothing. And then I ain't have a girlfriend and a kid on the way. I can only imagine that. You calling and talking and that is thrown in your face. And yeah, they should use this for educational purposes. And that's so, for them to play that in court, for this to just be out, for regular people to hear and be in that intimate moment.
I know.
That's crazy too.
That's why I always go back and forth when they play this kind of stuff in trial, because again, it feels like an invasion of privacy. It feels like here I am listening to this supposed to be, like personal, intimate, sad moment between him and his girl, and we all get to hear it and play it and like listen to this man crying on the phone after he was a part of shooting someone in the head, like that. It's a conflict that you have, but only because a couple of people are saying I don't know what they said because the audio is bad and the accents. So basically he is absolutely crying, and she is saying, why didn't you come to my house? I tried to tell you, last night, whatever, you shouldn't have been caught up in no mess. And he is like, basically breaking down, because he's like, I got to get out of here. I got you, and I got a baby on the way. I can't be in here. And the reason that I even brought it up and was playing it again is because when he was on the stand, he just kept saying, I was trying to do anything to get out. And so it was interesting to me that the state would play this, because it speaks, in my opinion, to him saying, I would say and do anything. They want me to tell. I would say and do anything to get out of jail. So it just makes me wonder what the jurors are thinking. He also said there's a part where he said, we got to get Thug to do a fundraiser, which there's another clip that I won't play because the audio is going to sound the same. But it's Slug, or Tick, is on this in jail, and he makes a call, and they're calling Thug Rapper Boy. And so he says, what the Rapper Boy saying? And then the guy on the phone is like, so Tick says, what is the Rapper Boy saying? And the guy on the phone is like, that boy ain't saying nothing. He ain't worried about you. And he like, dang, Rapper Boy ain't trying to help. He ain't going to get me a lawyer. He like, boy, no. Good luck. And so, again, it was interesting that the state would play that, because their premise is that this is a gang. Thug is the head of that gang. And as a part of that gang, he provides legal money for you to get an attorney. If you commit a crime on behalf of this gang, we got you. Yeah. We have this fund here. Everybody puts money in it, and it helps put money on your books. And that's what they're claiming. And then they play these jail calls, which you could almost assume are these honest moments when they are being probably their most honest. And you hear them like saying, Thug ain't looking out for us. Thug don't care about us. Yeah. And he's like, maybe Thug can start a fundraiser to help me get some money because I got to get out of here. Yeah. If that's your head YSL member and you committed this crime and he's aware of it, and it was, you would think that he would put the money up if he got it.
Yeah, if he's the leader of the gang.
Yeah.
So-called leader of the gang.
Yeah. So it was really interesting that they chose to play all of these calls. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. It was sad to hear, but I think kind of to the conversation we were having last week, which is that at the end of the day, somebody was also injured. This man literally lost half of his skull, his head. There's a plate in there, all of this. And if you are a part of that crime and responsible for that, you should absolutely be penalized. And, you can't just commit crimes and get away with it. So anyway.
Yeah, that's the part about all of this criminal activity situations. Things don't hit you until they hit you.
Absolutely.
Until you realize, dang, I this is really, I really screwed up. And the thing is, people just screw up on different levels.
Absolutely.
And just so happened when these guys are screwing up, they done did it. I got a second chance.
It's selfish. It really is.
And it hurts.
Eventually you get caught.
Yeah.
And that's exactly kind of what happened here. So anyway, those are, I would say, the wrap-ups. Like I said, we were hoping to do Karen Reed today, but those are the wrap-ups that we have until next week. We'll be able to dive more
hopefully
we'll be able to dive into Karen Reed. So I don't have to talk about and tell y'all about YSL no more.
Man.
There you go. All right. I think that's all we had today. It's a short episode.
Oh, short and sweet.
Unless you had something else. I didn't.
Okay. Whatever's in the media, just do your homework.
Absolutely.
Double check it.
I agree with that.
Just don't believe what people say, because it'll be all bull.
Well, that's why
because milk does not do a body good.
All right, sir. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back next week. Again, hopefully Karen Reed will have started by then so that we can do a full recap on that. Until next week. Bye.